Hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Favor, and in today's tutorial we are going to be learning how to make this cute bralette top. So let's get right into the tutorial. The materials we'll be needing for this tutorial includes a pair of scissors, a yarn needle, some stitch markers. Okay, we'll be also needing a measuring tape as well, and then I'll be using a size 4mm hook for this tutorial. Okay, so this is the yarns I'll be using for this project. This is a fingering lightweight yarn and I'm using 2 strands of it. Okay, and I will also be using this yellow to add some color and border to the bralette. So that will be all the yarn needed for this tutorial. So let's get started. So to get started, the first thing we are going to make is a slip knot. Okay, so you want to hold your yarn and your hook, and then we are going to place our yarn on our hook like so. Okay, and then you twist around just once, yarn over and pull through, and then pull on the tail. So this is your slip knot. So after we've made our slip knot, we are going to make a chain that is about 3 inches in length. So 1 2 3 4 6 7 8 9 10. So you take your tape and then you measure to see if it is up to 3 inches. Okay, so you can see mine is yet not up to 3 inches, so I'll add a couple more stitches so that it can be 3 inches in length. So I added 3 more chains, and as you can see, when I measure it without stretching it, just lay it flat and then measure, you can see it's about 3 inches. Okay, you can see, and that is the length you want for your chain. So this is 13 chains in total. So after you've had your chain about 3 inches, you want to add an extra one. Okay, starting from the second chain on our hook, now we are going to make a single crochet. So you insert your hook into that second chain, yarn over, pull up a loop. You have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all loops. So this is your first single crochet. Okay, so now into the next chain stitch there, you're going to make 1 single crochet there again. Into the next chain stitch, you make 1 single crochet, and you just place 1 single crochet on all the chain stitches all the way until you get to the end of the row. Okay, so when you're done placing single crochets on all of the chain stitches, this is what you should have. Okay, so after this first row, now we are going to chain 1, turn our work, and then we are going to place single crochet all the way until we get to the very last stitch there, which was our first stitch. So into the first stitch here, now I'm going to place 1 single crochet, into the next stitch 1 single crochet, into the next 1 single crochet, and just repeat that until you get to your very last stitch. So at this point now, I've made single crochets on all of the stitches all the way, and I have just my very last stitch here. Okay, so into that very last stitch, you want to be placing 3 single crochet into the same stitch. So into that very last stitch, I'll place 1 single crochet, into the same stitch place another single crochet, into that same stitch I'll place another single crochet. This will be making it a total of 3 single crochets into that same stitch. Okay, so I have 3 single crochets. Now you want to take your stitch marker and then mark the middle of those 3 stitches. So on the second stitch there, out of those 3 stitches, you mark the middle one. So once you've done that, we are now going to place 1 single crochet on all the remaining sides of our work. Okay, so we worked like this up, now we are working our way back down. So we'll be working like this, up down up down. Okay, so since we are at this top right now, we are going to work on the next stitch, because remember, for this side we worked all the way, and when we got to the very last stitch we made 3. So you're not working on the side of that last stitch, you'll be moving on to the next stitch. So into the next stitch there, you place 1 single crochet, into the next stitch you place 1 single crochet, and then you just repeat single crochets on all of the stitches all the way down until you get to this end. Okay, and aside from these 3 in 1 stitch that we have at the top, you should have the same number of stitches on both sides of your work. So just keep making single crochet all the way until you get to that end, and I'll meet you there. So now I'm at the end of that row. Okay, I've worked my way all the way down. Next thing to do now is to chain 1, turn your work, and then we are going to start making single crochet all the way back up until we get to this middle point where we have our stitch markers. So into the very first stitch there, you make 1 single crochet, into the next stitch you make 1 single crochet, into the next stitch you make 1 single crochet. So keep placing single crochet all the way until you get to that point where we have our stitch marker, which is this middle point here. So I've worked my way all the way back up, and I'm at that point where I have my stitch marker. So I'm just going to take it off and place 3 single crochets into that same very stitch. Okay, so 1 2 and then 3, and then just like we did for the previous row, you're going to mark that middle stitch there, which is the second stitch out of the 3 that you placed inside that top stitch. So after you've marked your stitch marker, you want to continue making single crochets on all of the remaining stitches until you work your way all the way down. So into the next stitch, 1 single crochet, into the next stitch 1 single crochet, and then you keep doing that all the way until you get to the end of the row. So at this point I'm on that very last stitch there for this row, and just like we did for the previous row, you just want to chain 1, turn your work, and then into the very first stitch you place 1 single crochet there, into the next stitch you place 1 single crochet there, and you just place single crochets on all of these stitches. When you get to where your stitch marker is, you take it off and place 3 in 1 single crochet there, and then you continue putting 1 single crochet until you get to the end of the row. You chain 1, turn your work, and repeat the process over and over and over again. So that is just the row to keep repeating, okay? And then for the size you'll be making for this bralette, it's going to depend on your size. So you can see, depending on what your bra size or your bra cup is, okay, I have a chart right now displayed on the screen. You can look at that chart and then figure out what your bra cup is, and then know the width that you'll be using for the wideness of your bra cup. Okay, so this is where we are going to be measuring. Okay, so right now I have about a little bit more than 1 inch. Okay, this is the base you'll be measuring. So when you place your tape, you measure it, okay, and then you know the length that you want to make for your bra cup. So depending on what bra size you fall under in this chart now displayed on the screen, mine is a medium bra cup, so I'll be making about 7 and 7.5 inches in the wideness of my bra cup. Okay, so I have about 1 inch now, so I'll keep doing this until when I measure it I'll have about 7 inches in length, or up to 7.5, whichever one you prefer. Okay, so go ahead and keep repeating this row that we just made, repeating it row after row after row until you have it the wideness that you want for your bra cup. Another important thing is to make sure that aside from this 3-in-1 that you have at the top here, the number of stitches on this side should correspond with the same number of stitches on this side, so that your work will be well aligned. So that is just it. So go ahead and keep making that, and I'll meet you when you have your cup wide enough for your bra size. Okay, so at this point now I have my bra cup the wideness I want it. Okay, like I said, I'll be making it row after row like so all the way until I have about 7 to 7.5 inches wide. Okay, so I decided to make about 7 inches. So if you want more coverage, you can go ahead and add about 1 more inch, or just a 1/2 inch. Okay, so we are going to measure this now together. So you want to place your tape right from this end and measure all the way up to the other end of your work. So as you can see right now, I have from here. Okay, let's do it this way. So you take your tape measure. Okay, you want to take your tape measure, place it on the end of your work like so, and then you want to measure only that base. Okay, so you can see I have about 7 inches in the width of my cup. So we are measuring just the base of the cup to get the actual measurement. So once you have about 7 inches, that's all the measurement needed for the bra size or the bra cup size. That will be also, like I said, I'll be making about 7 inches. So once you have yours, the length that you need to cover your breast, so you can just go ahead and place this on your breast and use it to know if you like the coverage. If it is not big enough, you can keep adding more rows until you have enough coverage like you want. After that, now the next thing to do now is to chain 1, pull up a loop, and then cut off the excess yarn. So once you've done that, we are going to go ahead and make an exact copy of this bra cup again. So this is it for your first bra cup. Go ahead and make a second one. So at this point now, I have 2 of the bra cups needed for this bralette tutorial. Okay, so once you have 2 cups now, the next thing we are going to do is to join the 2 cups together. Okay, and then work on the border. So to get started, we are going to get our yarn. Okay, and then we are going to make a chain that can stretch between 4 to 5 inches. Okay, so and you make a number of chains, any number of chains that can stretch up to this point. So you want to make your slip knot, and then we are going to make number of chains that will stretch up to that point. So at this point now, I have a number of chains. These are 17 chains in total. Okay, and when I place it without stretching, you can see it's not up to 5, but it's close to 4. But then when I stretch it, it stretches up to, this is the beginning of the chain, so it stretches up to this point, which is 5 inches in length. Okay, so once you have this, you want to take note of the number of chains that you made for this, and for me this is 17 chains. So now we are going to attach it to this side of our work. Okay, so we are going to be working like this, and then when we get to this middle, we attach this point and then we work all the way down. So starting from this part now, we are going to be attaching this chain. So you choose a front side of your work, so this is going to be the front part and this is the inside, and then you want to attach your chain to the base of the very first single crochet stitch by that end there. So once you have attached your chain, into that very first stitch there where we attached our chain, we are going to make a single crochet in that stitch, and then into the next stitch there, the next single crochet space there, you place one single crochet there. Into the next space there, you place one single crochet. So we are just placing one single crochet in each of the stitched spaces all the way until we get to this point. Alright, so at this point I've made the single crochet all the way towards the end, and I'm towards the end of this cup. So on the very last stitch there, okay, the very last stitch, you want to insert your hook there. We are not going to make our stitch just yet, and then you bring in the second cup, and then choose the front side of your work, and then make sure the front side is facing you, and then on this other end, into the very first stitch there, we are going to insert our hook as well. So we have both of the cups on our hook, okay. So you can see I have the two cups on my hook now, and then we are going to make single crochet on both of the same stitches, okay. So we'll make single crochet, so that way we have connected the two cups together, okay. And then we are going to continue making single crochet on all of the remaining stitches across the border until we get to this end where we started. So into the, since we joined with the first stitch, into the second stitch now you make a single crochet there. Into the next stitch space you make another single crochet. Into the next stitch space you make another single crochet, and this is just it. So you just keep making single crochets on all of these stitches until we get to this end here, and we are going to make our chains again. So at this point I'm towards the end of this row, okay. I've made single crochet all the way across, and I just have the remaining last stitch there. So you just place your last single crochet, and then remember that this chain we make here, remember we made 17 chains, so we are going to make a total number of 17 chains again here. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17. So you just want to make sure that you have the same number of chains on this side, like the same number of chains we did when we started, okay. So once you have your 17 chains, we are going to go and make single crochets on all of the stitches across, okay. So we are going to block off this very last stitch here and then add an extra chain one. So into the second stitch from your hook, you're going to insert your hook and make a single crochet there. Into the next chain you make a single crochet. Into the next chain you make another single crochet, and just keep making single crochet on all of the chain stitches. So at this point I'm done making all the single crochets on all of the chain stitches, okay. This is now back at the base of the cup, and this is my very first single crochet stitch here before the chain. So on top of that very first single crochet stitch there on the base of the cup, we are going to place one single crochet there, okay. So this is what you should have on this side of your work, and then we'll keep making one single crochet all the way until we get to this other side where we have our chains as well. So just keep making single crochet on all of the single crochet stitches we have on the base of the cup, and when we get to the other end where we have our chain, I'll show you what to do. Alright, so at this point I've made the single crochet all the way across the border of the cup, and I'm on this point where we have our first starting chain stitch here for that previous row. So I still have one more stitch left before the chain stitch, so I'm just placing the last single crochet stitch there before the chains. So now when you get to the chains, just like we did for the previous row, you're going to pick each of the chains. So into the very first chain stitch you make a single crochet there, okay. Try as much as not to skip any stitch, okay. Into the next chain stitch you're going to place a single crochet there. Into the next chain stitch you're going to place a single crochet there, and you want to make sure, okay, and then you want to place single crochet all the way across until the very last chain stitch there, and you want to make sure that the same number of single crochets you have here is going to be the same number of single crochet we have here. So we had a total of 17 single crochets here, so at the end of this I should also have a total of 17 single crochets at the end of this row. So just go ahead and keep making single crochets on top of each of the chain stitches until you get to the very last chain stitch. So at this point I've placed the single crochets on all of the chain stitches, as you can see, okay. So after this now, like I said, you should have the same number of stitches on this chain part. It should be the same number you have here, okay. So after you've done that, now you want to turn your work, chain one, turn your work, and then we are going to make our next row. So for this next row now we are going to be making the remaining body of our bralette. So for this very first stitch here now we are going to be making a double crochet stitch there, okay. So since it's the first stitch, we'll be making a starting double crochet stitch, which is 3 single crochets stacked on each other So into that very first stitch there, you make one single crochet. By the side of this single crochet here, you insert your hook and make another single crochet. So that places this single crochet right on top of this your first single crochet, and then into that same very next stitch there, you make another single crochet. Okay, so now we have 3 single crochets stacked on each other, so this counts as our first double crochet stitch. So into the next stitch, you yarn over like so, and then you make your second double crochet stitch. Okay, so now we have 2 double crochet stitches. You chain 2, skip 2 stitches, into the third stitch, yarn over and make a double crochet there, and then into the next stitch you make another double crochet there. Okay, now you chain 2 again, skip 2 stitches, into the third stitch you make a double crochet there, and into the very next stitch you make another double crochet. You chain 2, and then this is just the pattern to keep repeating all the way across until we get to this end of our work. Okay, so chain 2, you skip 2 stitches, into the very last stitch there you place a double crochet there. Okay, so skip 2, into the third stitch you place a double crochet, into the next stitch you place another double crochet, and then keep repeating that pattern all the way until you get to the end of the row, and I'll meet you there. Alright, so at this point now I've made the mesh stitch all the way and I'm towards the end. Okay, and towards the end yours might even out and yours might not even out. What I mean by that is I have 2 double crochets and I chain 2, so I'm supposed to skip 2 stitches and place the remaining 2 double crochets, but I have only just 1 stitch left. Okay, but I need to make it so that it is going to be the same like this. All I have to do is just to skip those 2 stitches and then place 2 in 1 double crochet into the very last stitch, or you can choose to skip only 1 stitch and place 1 double crochet and 1 double crochet on the remaining last 2 stitches. Okay, so that's what we are going to do. So I'm going to skip this very first stitch now, that is this stitch here, and then into the remaining last 2 stitches I'll be placing double crochets into those last stitches so that as to complete it and look even on both sides. Okay, so this is what this side is going to look like. So you should always have 2 double crochets at the end of the mesh row. Okay, so once you're done with this row now, you want to chain 1, turn your work, and then into the very first stitch there you place a double crochet there. So remember our starting double crochet stitch is 3 single crochets stacked on each other. Okay, or you can just chain 3 if that is what you prefer. So after you've made your first double crochet, into the very next stitch there, which is a double crochet, you place 1 double crochet there. Into the chain 2 space you're going to be placing 2 double crochets into that chain 2 space. So 2 double crochet, into the 2 double crochets you're going to be placing 2 double crochets. That is 1 double crochet on each of the double crochet stitches. So this row is just placing double crochets on all of these stitches. Okay, into the chain space you place 2 double crochet there, and into these next 2 stitches you place 1 double crochet on top of each of the stitches. So that is just the pattern to repeat for this row. So we are just placing 1 double crochet on top of each of the stitches and chain spaces in between until we get to the end of the row. Okay, so at this point now I'm done placing the double crochets on all of the stitches and chain spaces all the way across. Okay, so for the remaining of the rows now we are just going to keep repeating this mesh row and this double crochet row over and over and over again until we have the length that we want for the body of our bralette. Okay, I'm going to be making about 5 inches in length. Okay, so right now we'll be measuring only the mesh part. Okay, from this mesh part down to where we are now, so this is about 1 inch. Okay, so I want to keep making these until I have a total of 5 inches in length for the bralette body. So for our next row now we are going to repeat this mesh row. So you just chain 1, turn your work, into the very first stitch you make a double crochet there. Okay, so since it's the first stitch we are making 3 single crochets stacked on each other to achieve a double crochet starting stitch. So this is our first double crochet. Into the next stitch you make another double crochet, and then you're going to chain 2, skip 2 stitches, and then into the third stitch you make a double crochet there. Into the next stitch you make another double crochet there. So this is just a repetition of this row. Okay, so you just go ahead, you chain 2, skip 2 stitches, make 2 double crochet, chain 2, skip 2 stitches, make 2 double crochet all the way until the end of the row. When you get to that end, you turn your work, and then we are going to repeat this row where we have double crochets on top of all the stitches and 2 double crochets into the chain spaces as well. So just go ahead and keep repeating these 2 rows over and over and over and over until you have it the length that you want for the body of your bralette. All right, so at this point now I've made a number of rows. These are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rows of the body parts of the bralette. Okay, and like I said, you should make it as long as the length you want. I just made just about 5 inches. I starting from here to the base of the cup, about 5 inches in length. Okay, so once you have that, now the next thing to do is to, you know, fasten off this yarn, and then we are going to make our border. Okay, so to fasten off, you just, you know, chain one, pull up a loop, and then cut in between the loop, and then pull out this other yarn, and like that you are fastened off. So after you fastened off, now the next thing for us to do is to, you know, place a border around the ends of our work. So we'll be placing border all the way like this, and then above the cups as well. Okay, so let me bring the new color to attach. All right, so at this point now where we fastened off, we are going to attach our new color. Okay, so that we can start making our border. You can totally skip this part if you want, but like I said, the border is going to give the work a more, you know, beautiful look, just that pop of color, you know. So once you've attached your new yarn, we are going to single crochet into that very first double crochet stitch there. So you make a single crochet there. Into the next stitch, you make a single crochet there. So we are just basically placing single crochet on top of all of the stitches, and as you notice, I'm working over this stitch in between the stitches so as to hide the tail. Okay, so you place it on top of your stitches like so, and then into the next stitch there, you make a single crochet. So we are just going to keep making single crochets on all of the stitches all the way until we get to the end of the work. Okay, so this is just placing single crochet on all of the stitches. So we'll just keep doing that, and when we get to this point, we are going to turn all the way to this other side so that we can work all the way back up to the cup. So when we get to this point, I'll meet you there. So keep making the single crochets on all the stitches across the piece. All right, so at this point now, I've made the single crochet border all the way across the end of the work. Okay, and I just have one stitch left on this side before I start working on this side of the work. So once you've made that last stitch there, and then we'll start working on this side of the work. So on this double crochet by the side here, we are going to be placing 2 single crochets on it. So this is the first one and this is the second one. Okay, once you've placed that, into the next stitch we'll be placing 3 single crochets on it. So this is 1, 2, and then the third one will be by that center joining that row. Okay, so this is 3. Okay, so this is all you should have. Now into the next stitch you'll be making just 2 single crochets there. So 1, and then into that same double crochet stitch you place another single crochet. So we started with 2 single crochet in the first, then 3 single crochet in the second. Okay, now 2 single crochet in this one again now. So the next one is going to be 3 single crochets. All right, so into that bar there you place 3 single crochets, and then the next is going to be 2 single crochets. So into that next stitch there you place 2 single crochets on that double crochet bar. So this is just the pattern to repeat for this side of the work all the way until you get to this end, and then you just turn and keep making normal single crochets on these single crochet stitches. Okay, so like I said, you just make 2 single crochet here. Okay, you make 2 single crochet, you make 3 single crochet, 2 single crochet, 3 single crochet on those first double crochet stitches there. In between them is where you're placing your stitches. Okay, so just do that and work your way all the way up here, and when you get to this part of the work now, you place 1 single crochet on all of the stitches across until you get to this point of the work. When you get to this point, you continue like that all the way across, making 1 single crochet on all of the stitches. Okay, and then when we get to this point, we'll be placing 3 in 1 single crochet in the very middle stitch there. So just go ahead and keep making your single crochet all the way until we get to the top of the cap. Okay, so at this point now, as you can see, I've made the single crochet all the way across like so, like I said. So when you get to this part where we have 3 in 1 single crochet at the top of the cup, okay, so you just place 1 single crochet in the first, and then into the second, which is that middle stitch, you place 3 single crochet into that same very stitch. So this is 1. Into that same stitch you place another single crochet, so that's 2, and then you place another single crochet. So now that's 3 single crochets into that same very top stitch. So now into the stitch you just make 1 single crochet, into the next stitch 1 single crochet, into the next stitch 1 single crochet, and just keep repeating what we've been doing before. Okay, so 1 single crochet all the way across the cup like so. So your 1 single crochet all the way across. When you get to this end, you continue, okay, picking on all of the stitches you can see there. when you get to the top of the other cup, you remember that middle stitch there, you place 3 in one single crochet there, and then continue working all the way back down. You work on this side and then work on this side as well. This side is going to be exact repetition of what we did on this side as well. You remember you make three single crochet in one of the double crochet. On the next row you make 2 single crochet, in the next row you make 3 single crochet, in the next row you make 2 single crochet, and repeat that all the way until we get back to where we started. So go ahead and keep placing your single crochet border. So at this point, after making this part of this cup, I went all the way back up. Like I said, you place your 3 in one single crochet in that top stitch, and then you work your way all the way back down, and then repeat the same process we did on the other side of the body. You work single crochets here, you work single crochets here, and then we are back right at where we started. Okay, so when you get to this point now, after your last stitch, you're going to slip stitch into the top of the very first stitch that we had when we started our work. Okay, so into the very first single crochet, you're going to make a slip stitch like so. So once you slip stitch, you chain 1, pull up a loop, and then cut off the excess yarn in between. So this is what you should have. Okay, so this is it for the border for the bralette. You can see it has given it that pop of color, like I said. So the next thing we're going to work on now is the straps. So for the straps, we are going to attach it right into below this orange border, this center space here. Okay, this is where we are going to be attaching our straps. Okay, and to do that, you want to take your initial working yarn and the yarn you used in making your border and combine them to make like this. You combine them like this, and then we are going to attach it. So when attaching, make sure you leave a long tail for weaving in, and then you place it on your hook. Your hook is already through that place where we want to attach, so you just pull it through, yarn over to secure it. So right now we have attached the yarn. Okay, so I just like to take this tail and then flip it over like so to secure it even more, and then we are going to chain 2. So 1, 2. Once you have chained 2 into that same very space where we attached our yarn, we are going to make a mini puff stitch there. So yarn over, insert your hook into that same stitch space, and then pull up a loop, and make sure you put the loop as high as your chain. Okay, yarn over again into that same space, you pull up a loop. Okay, so now you have how many stitches now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches on your loop. Okay, so once you have that, you yarn over and then pull through all the loops at once. Once you've pulled through, you now chain 1 to secure it. So this is it for the chain and the mini puff stitch. So you chain 2. Once you've chained 2, you want to turn your work, and then you want to place your next stitch in between. This is the chain and this is the puff stitch. So this is where we are going to be placing our next mini puff stitch. So you yarn over into that stitch space, you pull up a loop, yarn over into that stitch space and pull another loop. Okay, so now this is your mini puff stitch. So yarn over, pull through all the loops at once, and then chain 1. After you make the chain 1 to secure that puff stitch, you're going to chain 2, turn your work, and then like I said, into the space between the chain and the puff stitch is where you place your next stitch. So yarn over into that space there, you insert your hook and then pull up a loop, yarn over, insert your loop and then pull up a loop, and then you finish off the puff stitch like so, and then chain to secure it. So this is what our strap is going to look like, and we are going to keep repeating this process over and over until we have our strap long enough as we want it. Okay, so you just go ahead and keep repeating this. So after this, now you just chain 2, turn your work, between the chain and the puff stitch you're going to make your mini puff stitch. Remember to pull your puff loop as high as your chain. Okay, so you pull it up and then finish off that puff stitch, and then you chain 2 again, turn your work, and keep repeating the process over and over and over until you have the length that you want for your straps. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep making this, and then I'll come back and show you the length that I have. Okay, so just keep doing this until you have it the length you have. I usually like to make anything that, because you can see this stretches, so anything that stretches up to 45 to 50 is totally fine. Okay, so this is it. So I'm just going to keep doing this, and then I'll come back and show you the length of the strap. So just keep doing this over and over until you achieve the length that you want. Okay, so at this point now, I've made the straps the length I want it to be. Okay, so this is it, and like I said, it stretches really well. So we're just going to measure this now without stretching it to see what it is. So I'm just measuring it without stretching out the straps, so that you can see the total length. Okay, you can see this is about 34.5. okay, for the length of the straps without stretching. And if I decide to stretch this now, so let's do it stretching it, you can see I am stretching it along the tip. Okay, so stretching the strap now while measuring. You can see this is what we have, about 48 inches when you stretch it. So that is the total length of my straps, and I'm totally okay with how it is right now. So once you're done with the length you need for your strap, the next thing you want to do now is to, you know, fasten off. So you want to take your hook, and then I'm just going to put it back into my working space on the very last part where I made the last stitch for the strap. Okay, so I'm just going to chain extra one and then pull up a loop and then cut off. Okay, so that is it for the straps. Okay, once you're done making this, you want to go ahead and, you know, make the same thing on this other side of the bralette as well. And I want you to take note of something. When you're attaching the strap, make sure that you're working on the right side of your work for the attachment, so that your tail end is going to be on the wrong side of your work. Okay, so once you've done completing the second strap like this, now the next thing we're going to do is to weave in all these ends that we have hanging out of our work. So you want to take your yarn needle, and then starting from this part now, where for the bralette, we are going to weave this into this part of our work. So you're going to, so I remember you're weaving in now on the wrong side of your work. Okay, so this is the wrong side of the work. I'm just going to use that yarn needle and then pass it in between the stitches on the straps. Okay, so once you pass it in between the stitches like so, you now want to feed that yarn that you want to hide through the needle. So once you have your yarn in your needle, you want to now pull up the needle up, okay, so as to hide that yarn. So once you've done that, you stretch it out to hide the tail, and then you cut off any remaining excess that you have. So be careful while cutting as to not to cut your work. So once you have cut out, you go ahead onto this other top part as well. You're going to figure out, so this is the wrong side of our work. Okay, so you want to hold your strap and get to the top, so that you make sure that you're holding it the correct way, so that you don't twist it over and then weave in on the wrong side. So now we have it the way it should be, and this is the wrong side, so this is where we are weaving in. So you put your needle in between the stitches, starting from that top there. Okay, so once you've picked a number of stitches, you just want to feed your yarn just like we did before through your needle. And once you have your yarn through your needle, just go ahead and pull it up. Okay, and then you stretch the strap out to hide that tail. Okay, so we have done that for this. So you want to go ahead and repeat it for the other strap as well. And for the body of the work, you just want to look for any place where you have your yarn hanging out, and you make sure to weave in on the wrong side of your work. So just like we did, since this is a yellow yarn, I'll weave it into the yellow part. If this was a white yarn, you weave in the white yarn into the white part of your work. So just repeating the same thing. Okay, put your yarn through a few stitches and then feed your yarn through your needle, and then you pull it through the stitches. Once you're done, you arrange the stitches to be nice and normal, and then you cut off any excess yarn that you have. So that is it for weaving in ends. So go ahead and repeat that on all the places where you have ends sticking out of your work. So once you're done weaving in all your ends, okay, both on the straps and then on the body of your work, we are now going to, I'm going to show you how to fix the straps at the back of the work. So this is your front side of your work, and then this is the back side. So you flip it to the back, fold over the body to the back like so, and then for the straps, you're going to bring these straps and put it through to this side of the work. Okay, so you want to leave some room at the top of the strap like so, and then you're going to put it into this very top space here. Okay, so you put your strap through that very top space. Okay, once you've done that, you now want to put it into the center part of this side of your work as well. So into this space now on this center part, you want to put that through, and then we are going to put it back to this side of the work on the end. Okay, so I'm just going to put it through into this end, and I'm passing it under so that it comes out on top. So that is it for putting this side of the straps, and then you move on to the other section, which is this part now. So make sure to leave some room at the top, and then you're going to put it, crisscross it over to this side, and then put it into this very first top space here. Okay, once you've done that, this is what you should have at the top, and then you're going to, just like we did for the other one, you put it to the middle part of this side of your work. So look for a center part, and then pass your yarn through the stitches, and then to the bottom side of this one as well. Okay, so you make sure that you're putting it on the bottom last row. Okay, so once you're done, this is what you should have at the back of your work. So when you put it on, you're now going to stretch it out to tighten it to fit on your body the way you want it. So this is what you should have. So that will be all for this tutorial. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and leave a comment down below. You can also check out my other videos. Thank you for watching, and see you in my next tutorial. Bye.